Hello everyone, I'm Paul and today we're solving problem 3170, lexicographically minimum string after removing stars. This one is medium, and here I will show you my intuition and code for the linear solution, so keep watching. We are given a string S with a combination of lowercase English letters and asterisks. So for example, let's say we have this, and now for every asterisk we need to do the following. We need to delete the asterisk, and we need to look at the left of the asterisk and find the smallest lowercase English letter. In this case we have A's, and we need to delete one of these. So here we have 3 possible A's to delete, but our job down here is to return the lexicographically smallest string after removing all asterisks. So we already see a pattern here. Which A do we want to remove here? Well, we want to remove the last A, meaning this one. So in this case, we keep AAB, and this is the result. Because think about it, what are the choices here? Let's say we remove this A. In this case, we get ABA. So choice 1 is ABA. Now let's say we remove this, we also get ABA. And for the final choice, we can remove this and get AAB. And AAB is smaller than ABA, so we keep AAB. So the conclusion here is that we always need to remove the rightmost element that's a minimum character. So we remove this in this case. And this is the key for this problem. Now we had 3 A's here, but we didn't just remove any A, we removed the last A. And this means that we need some data structure to store the indices for each character. So we'll have a map, and we'll iterate this from left to right, and at each step we are adding the index for the current character to the map. So for example, first we are here and we add to the map A and the index for this, which is 0, and we will store this in an array. Now we have another A, so we add to the map at A the index for this A, which is 1. Now we have a B, so we add to the map B with an array which initially has a 2. Now we have another A, so we add to the map at A index 0, 1, 2, 3. Now we have an asterisk and we need to remove one character. The question is, which character should we remove? Well, we look in the map which character is the smallest. In this case we have 3 indices for character A, so we remove the last index here. This means we pop this value. And now we need to remove the character A, which is at index 3. This means we need to remove this, and there are many ways to remove this. For example, we could replace this with an asterisk, or we could add this index to a set and then iterate this again and add anything that's not in the set to the result and return that. So here we will use the set approach, but the key here is the intuition. So as long as you get this, you can implement the solution in different ways. So we'll have a set, we'll call this a void, and this will have index 3 only, and then we'll iterate this again from left to right, and whenever we find an index that we have in our set, in this case we only have a 3, we skip that, and if we find an asterisk we skip that too, and we add every other character to the result. So in this case our result is initially empty, and we have an A here index 0 is not in our set, so we add a to the result. Next we have another a, and index 1 is not in the set, so we add another a here. Next we have a b, and index 2 is not in the set, so we add a b here. Next we are at index 3, and we have a 3 here, so we continue. Next we have an asterisk, so we continue. And finally we return b. So this is basically the whole intuition. Time and space complexity for this will be big O of n. And now let's go with the code, and hopefully you will get the idea. First, n equals length of the string, map equals default dictionary, and we will use a default value of an empty array for every key. So here we use the word list. And remember, there are many ways to code this. Here we will use a set, and we will store in this set the indices for the characters that we are not using. So a void is initially an empty set. The minimum character that we are looking for is initially the first character in the string, and for I in range n, if s at I is different from an asterisk, here we want to add the index for the character to our map. So map at s I dot append I. And now we are checking if this minimum character is right. So if s at I is smaller than our minimum character, now the minimum character is s at I. This is the minimum character we are looking in our map. Else, meaning if we have an asterisk, we add to a void. Here we can add the current index because the current index is an asterisk. So we want to avoid the asterisks for the final result. And we also want to avoid map at the minimum character dot pop. Remember, we are using the last index. And now we want to update the minimum character again. So while the minimum is different from the last character in the alphabet, meaning C, and length of map minimum equals 0, the minimum will be the minimum in ASCII code plus 1, and we transform this into a character again, and this will keep going until we find a minimum character that we have in our map, or until we reach C. And finally we can build the result. So result is an array, and we will return this array in string format, so we use join. And here in between, for I in range n, if not I in a void, meaning if we want to take this character, result.append s at I. So this is it for the code. Now let's submit this and see if it works. As you can see, this works and it's very efficient. Remember, the important part for this one is the intuition. So if you didn't get the intuition for this one, I recommend you to watch this video again until you get it. And if you found this useful, please drop a like, subscribe, and see you in the next one. Bye bye.